last time I walked out at Full Sail was for an NXT Championship match. But the bell never rang, and I left on a stretcher. Every morning when I wake up and I struggle to get out of bed, my body reminds me of that day. My body reminds me of a knee that smashed my head into that LED board. My body reminds me of being driven off that stage through a table. I've been doing this basically my whole life, but I sat down with Candice and I realized it's time to start thinking about my future. It's time to start thinking about our future. I need to ask myself, is it worth it? You know what? You know what? Yeah, it's worth it. Tommaso Ciampa! I know you're back there. Come out here so we can finish this right now.
Boy, I'm gonna walk to that ring right now, and I swear, if you're still standing there when I get to that ring, I am going to finish this.
Everything about this segment was brilliant. Everything. Everything. Johnny Gargano's frustration at this moment just is the entire story. Everything that happened with Johnny Gargano tonight was beautifully presented and portrayed on NXT television. The attention to detail that went into this closing moment of tonight's show, brilliant. When Gargano was talking and teasing that he was going to step away from NXT at his wife's request, that they wanted to talk about their future together, that they made a decision about his future together. They left out the part on the YouTube channel where Gargano repeatedly apologized to Candice away from the microphone. Attention to detail. He gave it some thought. He was going to go through with what she thought was best for him. And they left it out. That one moment is very important. I don't know why they left that out on the YouTube version. He kept apologizing. I'm sorry. I can't. I'm sorry. Then he takes off the neck brace, he throws it away, and then he challenges Ciampa to come out. The other thing that I loved very much in this entire segment is that Gargano was not listening to Candice LeRae, his wife, at all. So she did the only thing that she could do in that moment, because she wasn't going to stop him. She ran to the back, and they followed her. They showed her leaving the ring, and they showed her walking through the crowd to the backstage area. Nobody knew at the moment when she left what she was doing. And then the next thing you know, she's bringing out 3 officials to help her with Gargano, because nobody is going to listen. The other thing, and I always mention attention to detail, when Gargano was mentioning that he was kneed in the LED board, they showed you a wide angle shot of the LED board. Then he says he got thrown off the stage, and he feels it every morning he wakes up. WWE, with a camera angle, panned right over the stage and showed you how far the actual dive was, where Ciampa and Gargano went through the table. They showed you a wide-angle shot of the table and the stage setup. Attention to detail for the people watching at home, man. I love that shit. I love that shit. Everybody in this storyline is playing their roles great. Gargano now upset, risking his career, feeling the injuries. He doesn't care. He doesn't care about himself. He doesn't care what his wife has to say. He wants Ciampa, and that's the only thing on his mind right now. Ciampa now, the level-headed one, says, listen, if I come down there, I'm ending this because of the condition that you're in right now. And the one idea that I pitched for this entire storyline actually happened tonight, but not the way that I pitched it. Ciampa, I pitched for him to attack Gargano's wife. I pitched for him to attack Candice LeRae after everything was done with Gargano. He wasn't on TV. He wasn't able to be on TV. They weren't going to have him in the arena. She was there. I would have had Ciampa do something dastardly to Candice LeRae, but that might have been too much for WWE to portray in this angle. But they did do it within their means tonight, and I was very pleased, and I actually smiled when I seen that closing segment tonight. Gargano's frustrations get the best of him, and it costs him a possible injury to his wife. Now, the great thing about this is he didn't even lay a hand. He didn't even lay a hand on Ciampa. And Ciampa forced Gargano off the apron with Candice LeRae standing down below. He falls back off the apron to avoid an attack from Tommaso Ciampa, and he lands on Candice LeRae. Now, they overplayed. The only negative about this entire thing is that she overplayed, and they overplayed the injury. It didn't even look like she landed in the way that they had hoped, or she didn't land in a way where she needed all this medical attention. It looked like they were attending to her neck, but she fell onto the steel, and she was knocked out cold. You had God knows how many officials there surrounding her. Gargano screaming, "This is it. This is all the officials you got. Get somebody out here." And he was ushering for help. And Gargano, at that moment, his frustrations towards Ciampa went to concern for Candice LeRae. And the best thing about the entire thing was that Ciampa went on social media after this show was over and says that Gargano is the one to blame for this entire thing. That Ciampa was the one who felt attacked. And Ciampa felt he was threatened in this entire thing, and he was defending himself from the madman, Johnny Gargano. And the madman let his frustrations get the best of him, and in this night, on this evening, he let the frustrations boil over to the point where it now is affecting his wife. This is great fucking storytelling, man. This is absolutely the best thing on WWE television right now. And they had a great tease with Gargano coming out, possibly retiring and stepping away. The injuries are too much. His wife doesn't want him to work for NXT anymore because of the betrayal and the unpredictability of Tommaso Ciampa, Psycho Killer. This is great storytelling, man. I don't know what else to tell you guys. If you're not watching NXT, you are doing yourself a massive disservice. This is only going to get better. I'm on this ride, I'm strapped in, and I ain't going fucking anywhere, man. Give me my fucking popcorn. I'm sitting here until this thing has a fucking epic conclusion. I am so happy that they involved Candice LeRae in this entire thing, and she took a bump. She didn't take a bump from Ciampa, but she took a bump nonetheless, and it was beautifully executed, man. Great fucking storytelling, great angle, great way to close the show. I'm loving it. I can't wait to see what they do. No doubt in my mind that they're going to be going one-on-one in Chicago at TakeOver. Whether it's a street fight whether it's another no DQ match, whether it's a steel cage. Somebody threw out the idea of a Hell in a Cell. You know, we talk about first time ever in NXT for Hell in a Cell. Or, I would literally take a page out of Shawn Michaels and Triple H. I would do a 3 stages of Hell match. But I would wait till Ciampa, hopefully, I'm hoping this happens, wins the championship, and then we get the 3 stages of Hell. Can you imagine Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa in an NXT Championship match in a 3 stages of Hell match? Oh my God, dude. Remember that, man? I don't remember what year Armageddon it was, but Shawn Michaels and Triple H had that 3 stages of Hell match, man. Fucking phenomenal. I envision that when I see Gargano and Ciampa. But I only want that to happen if Ciampa is going to win the NXT Championship, which, in my honest opinion, he should. He should. And Gargano chase, and Gargano get that epic moment that we wanted in Philadelphia against Almas, but this time it would be against his ex-best friend in Tommaso Ciampa. Keeping my fingers crossed on that one, man. Great stuff, and I'm loving everything about this angle. Everybody involved is doing a brilliant fucking job, and I commend NXT Creative for just going with the story and keeping it fresh and exciting and intriguing. Very difficult thing to do when you watch Monday Night Raw and SmackDown Live. They make it look like it's the fucking toughest thing in the world. Meanwhile, NXT is making it look like a piece of fucking cake. Like a walk in the park. Beautiful. Can't say any more about how good this is, man. I can't wait to see where they go from here. The other thing I want to talk about here, man, is Lars Sullivan, Ricochet, and the Velveteen Dream. Now, we all knew that Lars Sullivan, and I mentioned last week, keep an eye on Lars Sullivan. Don't doubt Lars Sullivan yet. Don't criticize a potential Lars Sullivan and Aleister Black main event for NXT TakeOver Chicago. He may shut you up. He may surprise you. The thing going into this match was not who was going to win this match. It was how are they going to cause friction between Ricochet and the Velveteen Dream. Now, we all love Velveteen Dream. He comes out there. He has his name chanted everywhere he goes because he's that damn fucking cool. Ricochet is Ricochet. Everybody loves Ricochet. But the Velveteen Dream really made himself into a legitimate heel tonight, and it's a nice thing to see. You know, we don't really know what he is. He's definitely an in-betweener. But tonight, he was definitely on one side rather than the other. He was definitely a heel tonight. And what he did tonight, simple, it was effective, and it got the match signed, sealed, and delivered for NXT TakeOver Chicago. You couldn't ask for anything better. How were they going to get these two to go one-on-one again at NXT TakeOver Chicago? They had Lars Sullivan beat. And Velveteen Dream, pretty much, from what I gathered and what I seen, he did the rolling Death Valley driver, and I believe he uttered the words, "You don't deserve it. You don't deserve to beat Lars Sullivan. You don't deserve to be teaming with Dream." So he took things into his own hands, and he attacked his own partner, and Lars Sullivan picked apart the pieces, gave him a freak accident, and was over. Velveteen Dream cost his team to beat Lars Sullivan tonight. And Lars Sullivan now is the #1 contender for the NXT Championship. Because he beat, on record, it's in the record books, he beat both Ricochet and Velveteen Dream in a handicap match. You know, the record books on paper are not going to say, you know, Velveteen Dream did this and cost his team the match. No, it's going to read, Velveteen Dream and Ricochet lost. L to Lars Sullivan. Simple. Now we get NXT TakeOver Chicago. What happens next week? What's the explanation? How is Velveteen Dream going to further this explanation? What is Ricochet going to have to say about this? Simple is best, man. You know, sometimes the simplest route is the best route to get to a feud and a match between two guys. That was it. And they had the match won. Lars Sullivan was getting his ass kicked. We seen Ricochet do Ricochet type shit. You know, he did the 450 standing shooting star press. Velveteen Dream and Ricochet were doing double team moves on Lars Sullivan. It looked like they were going to do it. And they had everyone in the palm of their hand. And when the Death Valley driver spot happened, everyone was like, what the fuck? Everybody was genuinely disappointed. And that is what that's what a heel is supposed to do in that moment. And Velveteen Dream, like I said, definitely on one side rather than the other. He definitely kind of moved himself into the heel category with that attack on Ricochet. Now, is it going to maintain that when he goes into Chicago? Probably not. He's going to have fucking 16,000 people chanting his name. But to get that match signed, sealed, and delivered in Chicago, beautifully done tonight by the Velveteen Dream. Lars Sullivan is the number one contender for the NXT Championship. I don't think that is official yet, but it's coming, and we're going to get Aleister Black versus Lars Sullivan for the NXT Championship. The other thing I want to talk about, man, I've been very critical of her in recent months. This was before a slight change to her character. Lacey Evans is really impressing me. I don't know what it is in the ring. If you look at Lacey Evans during the Mae Young Classic, and you look at Lacey Evans now, you see two totally different people. She looks great. And I hope you see the progression in Lacey Evans. Now, we know she's beautiful. She still comes out dressed like a burlesque dancer, but she's toned down that act, which I greatly appreciate. I wish she would change the move that she does for a finisher, and I wish she would change the name of it. I mean, it's just so stereotypical in today's day and age. I mean, it's very cringe. But notwithstanding, she looks great in the ring, and she's getting better. And she's got a great physique. She is definitely more so looking the role than Kairi Sane. Kairi Sane, I don't know what they're doing with Kairi Sane right now. Kairi Sane looks a little defeated. She looked great tonight. She looked, frustrated. Both women were going at it hard. Knife-edge chops. They were really beating the shit out of each other. Kairi was being very stiff with Lacey, and Lacey was giving it right back to Kairi Sane. But I feel like Kairi Sane has this defeated attitude nowadays. Like, they don't know. I'm sure NXT knows what they're doing with Kairi Sane, but I'm not sure if they're going to try and tell a story of Kairi Sane kind of feeling defeated in a way, and she can't get the job done, and she's going to have to work and get back to that spot in which she was when she won the Mae Young Classic. I'm not really sure. We all know Kairi Sane is an underdog. I had envisioned a different role for Kairi Sane when she came in to NXT, just based on her past in Japan, working that strong style. I felt like she was going to be bred to be the next Asuka in NXT. It looks like they're doing a completely different story with Kairi Sane, one that's almost Daniel Bryan-esque, but not totally. So it's kind of weird to see where I envisioned it and what I'm seeing now, but I hope it works out in the end, and I'm sticking to what I'm thinking. I think Kairi Sane's going to work her way back up. I think it's going to be a rematch from the Mae Young Classic finals, Kairi Sane versus Shayna Baszler, and I think Kairi Sane by the end of this year is going to win the NXT Women'S Championship. But it looks like Kairi's playing that defeated attitude role, and Lacey Evans, I mean, she's looking great. So, believe it or not, I'm looking forward to seeing more Lacey Evans as the weeks go on. She beat Kairi Sane clean tonight. So, that's got to mean big things for her. I don't know what exactly that means, but we'll see what happens in the weeks to come. Speaking of the women's division, there's two other things going on right now. WWE clearly setting up Bianca Belair for big things. They got a huge promo coming on her, highlighting her background and her childhood. And they don't do that just for anybody. They're doing that because they have big things in store for Bianca Belair. And Bianca Belair is going to be a huge part of the women's division in 2018. Rightfully so. Because you talk about a superior athlete in Charlotte on the main roster, Bianca Belair is a fucking freak of nature. Bianca Belair, you talk about superior athlete, not many women on the main roster could do a fucking 450 beautifully, picture perfect. That's Bianca Belair. And she's only going to get better. That was during the Mae Young Classic. Imagine her now, one year removed from that, with serious competition in front of her, allowing her to step up her game. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. I can't wait to see what they do with Bianca Belair. Great shit. The other thing, a bullying angle that doesn't make me turn my head and cringe. You got Dakota Kai, who's finally getting a title shot next week against Shayna Baszler. She finally stood up tonight as Kathy Kelly was interviewing her and said something to Shayna Baszler. She was bullied again. And Shayna Baszler came up to her and says, Do you really think you're going to win this match? You know? You talk all this shit when I'm not around, but when I step up in front of you and I meet you face to face, you cower in fear. You don't say anything. And then Dakota Kai finally said something and says, I'm going to take that title from you next week. I'm going to beat you next week. This is great storytelling. This is a bullying angle that is actually worth the time of day. Not like the fucking mean girl shit that we've seen with Alexa Bliss and Nia Jax and the fat shaming. Shayna Baszler is quintessentially the perfect role for a bully. She's got the leather jacket, she carries that belt in pride, the fucking facial expressions, the smirk on her face, knowing that these little Barbie dolls in NXT can't do shit to her. This is great television. Then you got someone like Dakota Kai who is innocent as they come. She's Bayley 2.0, and she's playing the role opposite of Shayna Baszler to perfection. She doesn't say shit. She cowers in fear. She's afraid. That's what a bully is supposed to do. Instill fear in you to the point where you don't want to go to work. You don't want to go to school. This is NXT. And the reason why NXT is getting praised every week by me on this channel is because they do things right. They don't insult my intelligence. And they don't make things embarrassing to watch. I could watch this in front of my friends and say, damn right, I'm a fucking professional wrestling fan. You put this shit on Monday Night Raw, right? And with Alexa Bliss and Nia Jax, and you put that on in front of people, I'm embarrassed to even fucking watch this shit. Child's play. This is great shit. Now, the thing with Kairi Sane, or not Kairi Sane, she's going to be in the title picture towards the end of the year. The thing with Dakota Kai and Shayna Baszler. Nikki Cross is going to get involved somehow. There's a reason why she was there behind both Dakota and Shayna Baszler laughing a couple of weeks back. This could go one of two ways. One, Dakota Kai could get her ass kicked by Shayna Baszler in very, very quick fashion. And we can have an injury angle, and Nikki Cross comes out and defends Dakota Kai, and then steps up to say, in defense of Dakota Kai, you can't be doing this. I'm stepping up. You want to do something like this? You do it to someone your own size. We could see that. We could see, Dakota Kai bring Shayna Baszler to the inch of defeat next week and take the title and tease taking the title. Come very close to winning the title. Nikki Cross could be out there just kind of looming around. And we could get a post-match attack with Shayna Baszler, holding on to the title just barely. So frustrated that Dakota Kai brought so much fight, something she didn't really expect, and we get a post-match attack, and then Nikki Cross comes out and does the same thing, defends Dakota Kai, and we have a match set up for NXT TakeOver Chicago. You want to do something like this to Dakota Kai, why don't you do it to someone your own size, someone a little bit more crazier than you? So I could see those two things either happening next week on NXT television as Shayna Baszler defends the title against Dakota Kai. So it's going to be very interesting to see. Other than that, man, those are the big storylines on NXT tonight. There really isn't anything else to talk about. All in all, it was a very, very entertaining and a very good show that progressed storylines very nicely, man. When there's a lot of stuff to talk about at NXT, you know that they did a damn good job at progressing storylines. I'm liking what they're doing with TM61. I'm really liking what they're doing with TM61, man. Heavy Machinery opened the show against TM61. There's a lot of baby faces in the NXT Tag Team division. You got Heavy Machinery, clearly baby faces. Otis is the man. Street Profits. You got War Machine or War Raiders. Those are three babyface teams. Obviously Sanity and the Authors of Pain, both were heel teams. They are on the main rosters right now, if you even want to call it that. Authors of Pain have been off Monday Night Raw for 4 straight weeks. Sanity hasn't even debuted yet, which is a shame in itself. But Sabatelli and Riddick Moss out with injury. Another heel team not really going to be there at all for the rest of the year. And you got TM61. You got all babyface teams. One of them is going to need to be heel. And right now, they're portraying TM61 as a heel team. I don't know necessarily if the crowd is going to get behind them in that type of fashion, but they're definitely trying You know, they got to do it against a team that is big fan favorites. You know, if they do that to, like I say, a War Raiders, you know, then maybe the crowd would get on them the way that they should. I feel like the crowd aren't really invested in TM61 completely to look at them and kind of envision them as cheaters yet, or bad guys or heels. But they're trying to make it work. This is the second week in a row that they cheated. The reason why Heavy Machinery wanted this match is because they don't like cheaters. So they cheated last week, and now they are doing the same thing again this week, and they got another win over Heavy Machinery with the same pin that got them the win last week. And even the commentary team is trying to play it up. You know, the tag team division right now is very competitive, and they want to stand out. And they want to ensure that they have victories and are in line for a tag team title shot by any means necessary. If the referee doesn't see it, the referee makes the 3 count, the referee's decision's final. And they're going to do whatever they have to do to get the W. And in this case, TM61 beat Heavy Machinery, man. Otis is fucking entertaining, man. I like what he does. I like his grunts. I like his sound effects in the ring. He does a better worm than I ever expected, you know. But you look at someone like Otis and you look at someone like Tucker Knight and all the talent and the charisma that these guys have, and you look at them and they're doing great in NXT. What do you envision for them when they get to the main roster? Nothing. Nothing. I feel like these guys are cementing their characters and they're getting comfortable in their own skin in NXT, only to be fed to the wolves and hang out by catering on Raw and SmackDown. Otis, you look at Otis, I don't see Otis doing anything on Monday Night Raw or SmackDown Live. I see them both as fucking 2 comedy guys trying to get over and entertain the crowd because they don't really give a shit about tag team wrestling. Meanwhile, in NXT, you know, people love them, people take them seriously. They're a fucking, you know, rough and tough tag team, 2 huge guys. That's what I want. I want to see these guys bulldozing their way through competition. I don't want to see them doing what No Way Jose is doing on the main roster right now. You know? There's a time and a place for that type of shit. But when I watch WWE, I want to see wrestling. You know, the entertainment's always going to be there. The entertainment can come through the characters that you're portraying on television. We don't need comedy skits. We don't need fucking guys like Santino Marella. We don't need guys like No Way Jose Congan line dancing. No, we don't need that shit. You know, the charisma and the entertainment comes in the guys who are overly charismatic like Otis. That's what I want to see. Anyway, Heavy Machinery loses here to TM61. And cheap pin, like I said, as they did before, by Thorne, holding Miller's legs down on the ropes. And Otis couldn't kick out of the roll-up, man. So there you go, TM61 with a pinfall. Looks like they're positioning themselves into tag team title contention. But not before Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch, man, all but announced at NXT TakeOver Chicago. It's going to be Roderick Strong and Kyle O'Reilly versus Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch for the NXT Tag Team Championships. So that should be very interesting, man. Not really a match that you might be expecting for an NXT Championship match, but, you know, in Chicago, a Cinderella team, that could be a fucking, an epic night. That could really be an epic crowd for that type of moment and that type of match if they get behind Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch and they tell a compelling story in that ring, man. I'm very much looking forward to that. Kairi Sane versus Lacey Evans. This one was very quick. It was quick, but it was stiff. Both women really went hard at one another. Bronco Buster by Evans. Sane tried to get back in this one with a running blockbuster. Axe kick to Evans. Actually, running blockbuster and then an axe kick to Evans. I'm sorry, I didn't put a comma in my notes. Sane hits that sliding elbow, that running elbow in the corner. Evans is on the floor. Sane goes to the outside, jumps off the apron with another flying elbow off the steps. Evans is then thrown back into the ring. Sane goes for her huge flying elbow drop off the top rope. But Evans, when Kairi Sane comes off the top rope for the elbow drop, Evans meets her with the women's right hand and knocks her out, and it made a pop that resonated throughout the entire arena, man. Kairi Sane was knocked out, and Lacey Evans got a clean victory over Kairi Sane. I was not only impressed by Lacey Evans and the fact that she's getting better, But I was shocked that Kairi Sane actually lost clean to Lacey Evans tonight. So I don't know what they're doing with Kairi Sane. Like I said, I think they're trying to tell a defeated Angle storyline here where she kind of doubts herself. So we'll see where this goes. But Lacey Evans gets a big victory over Kairi Sane. Undisputed Era with Adam Cole. They call Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch and Pete Dunne. They say that those three were the three luckiest people on earth. O'Reilly calls them a bunch of nobodies. Strong says they are out. They are way out of their league, and he wants to prove it by taking on Danny Burch. But they did insinuate that, they will be defending the titles. Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch are claiming that they beat the Undisputed Era in a six-man tag, so that pretty much ensures them a tag team title match. We'll see what happens, man. It's not official yet, but I'm expecting it to be very soon. Lars Sullivan versus Ricochet and Velveteen Dream. Handicap match. You guys know how this one ended. Ricochet was attacked by Velveteen Dream. Rolling Death Valley driver. After all the work they did to take down Lars Sullivan picked apart the pieces on a downed Ricochet. Freak accident. 1, 2, 3. Lars Sullivan, without question right now, heading towards a number one contendership for the NXT Championship. He defeats both Ricochet and Lars Sullivan. Moving on here, we got Aleister Black showing up next week, so he will probably be addressing the NXT Championship situation. And then we had the NXT TV taping tonight close with Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa, and the injury angle to Candice LeRae, which we talked about in the beginning of this podcast. But NXT, man, I mean, if you guys are not watching NXT, you guys are really doing a disservice to yourself, really. You got to start watching NXT. It is the best television show that WWE produces on a weekly basis every single week. Great storytelling. They don't make you feel like a fucking idiot. And the performances from everybody, the athleticism, the environment, it just speaks to you as a real wrestling show. And it doesn't go out of its way to make you feel embarrassed. It actually makes you proud to be a wrestling fan. So I urge you guys to watch NXT. If you're not watching it, do so, man. We got to get more people on board with what they are doing down at Full Sail University, man. But I'm getting out of here. Thank you guys so much. Another great episode of NXT. We got a Women's Championship match next week. We got Roderick Strong versus Danny Burch. And we got a possible situation with Aleister Black and Lars Sullivan. Also, more drama with Velveteen Dream and Ricochet, and what is the status of Candice LeRae, man? A lot going on in NXT right now. You don't want to miss anything. I'm getting out of here, man. Thank you guys so much. I uploaded my SmackDown Live review. It is live on the channel right now. Make sure you guys go and check that out. And Monday Night Raw's live. NXT review, obviously. Now we got the Off the Script podcast. Monday's episode was part 3. Go and check that out. We talked about the huge Fox TV deal for SmackDown Live. I give you my thoughts and opinions on that. Bunch of stuff all weekend long, man, and more to come this weekend with more Off the Script on Friday. I'm getting out of here. Hit that thumbs up. Follow me on Twitter at JDFROMNY206. Hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on that bell for notifications. We are almost at 93,000 subscribers. Let's do it, man. I'm getting out of here. Have a good night. I'll see you guys tomorrow with God of War. Live stream coming back tomorrow afternoon.